So anyways, so I'm going to do a little bit less of, trying to see what you're doing, because it's just really hard to see it, especially when, we're first starting to put the piece together. We can kind of do that towards the end. Of course, that is always optional. If you're not comfortable showing your work, that's totally fine. You can send it to me in private later. So we are doing a drawing today, and I'm going to teach you a couple really cool things you can do with perspective. Again, I try to incorporate perspective into most of our lessons, because it's just such a useful tool. It will help you just have a little bit more accuracy and depth in your drawings. But it should never be something that kind of stresses you or takes over the thing. We're not, architecture students. So today we are, like as promised, we are kind of traveling a little bit. So this is actually it's somebody's sketch, but I thought it was really cool, very simple, and it's I think it's pronounced Perugia, Italy. And I think it's an area that has a lot of kind of ruins and stuff. So there's this, I actually did look up a photo. It looks very similar to the photo. And so I'm going to show you how to do that staircase, and how to actually get the steps in perspective, how they start getting smaller. There's a very easy, simple system you can use. And we're going to do some hatching and cross hatching. We're going to do some line shading today. And I just think this is a fun piece. I like how in the background it kind of fades out. So the front is more pronounced, and you have heavier shading work, and it kind of fades back. I like to use other people's drawings and sketches sometimes, because it shows us how an artist tackled a subject, and that there's so many different ways to do it. I think it's cool to learn from others, and I feel that personally I can never learn enough. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do that staircase in perspective. Again, just a very kind of light, loose perspective method. Some of you probably might know it. And this has to do with how you divide rows and make them even. So this can apply to stairs, or if you're doing it vertically, it can apply to like poles or a bunch of trees, not like in nature, like, landscape where they're even, but they go into the distance. So railroad tracks, columns, anything that is in a row along the same line, and how you distance them in perspective. So Justin, we're going to go to the easel. Okay. So the first thing I want you to see is kind of a drawing that I did to kind of show you what we're going to be doing. And this has to do with creating a vanishing point. We're going to start with the first step, and we are going to divide it in perspective. So let's do this one on kind of just a side paper, because if you want to do it separately and experiment with it, let's keep it separate, and then start on the drawing later when you have that knowledge in hand. At hand. Okay. So let me get a little closer. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I want to determine where the direction of the staircase, and in the picture, the staircase kind of is a little bit to the side. We're going to use 1 point perspective. So I can see that my staircase kind of ends around here. Okay, so I am going to put my vanishing point. So it's kind of going into this direction. So I'm going to put my vanishing point way up here. So that means that all the lines that I'm using in perspective are going to lead to that line. And again, this is something that is optional. You don't have to do it, and you don't have to put in the lines, but it does help. And you know, I mean, you can also do it visually. It shouldn't be that hard. But sometimes when you are trying to create, you know, the illusion, you know, just to get it more accurate, it's kind of nice to use the perspective. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place the first step, and the first step I'm going to just kind of determine this, decide how big I want it to be. And I am going to take the steps from both ends, and I'm going to have them go to the vanishing point. Okay, so this is the width that I have, and I want to find the center of the step. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, these are just, you know, illusions. I'm going to take that line, so that's kind of my center line. Okay, so to determine the next step, how high it's going to be, you are going to go from the bottom of the step, you're going to cross through the middle, and then this is how high that step is going to be. Okay, and then for the next one, you do the same thing. See, this line over here has created the middle. You're going to go from the step before, cross through, and go to the other side. Okay, so now you can see that they're starting to get smaller and the distance. So if you flip this over, then you know you can see how you can use it for like poles or other things. So again, you always go from the step that you just did, from the bottom of it. You go through the center line, and then you're going to go horizontal. Okay, you can see, and you're going to do that until the steps, again, going before. And one thing you need to make sure is that these lines stay horizontal and that they are parallel to your paper. In perspective, only things, they change shape and direction when they're going into the distance, not the horizontal lines. Okay, again, step before. Step before. Isn't that cool? I just think this is like a really fun way to do it. Okay, so now you can see your steps getting smaller. And then, you know, if you want to separate these a little bit and just create the tops and the bottoms, we can just kind of eyeball that. I mean, you can do all of it in perspective, but, you know, that would kind of take a while. So that's how we do the stairs. So now we're going to go back to completely starting it. So now that you have the knowledge of how to do that staircase. And again, you know, this is kind of a scene that looks, you know, old. We want to make sure that we do want, you know, we want it to make sense and we want it to be balanced as far as perspective and angles, but make sure that your lines stay nice and loose and easy, just to give that feel of it being old and kind of, you know, just having some of that, you know, old ancient feel to it. Okay, so since we just do the stairs, I'm going to start with that. So I am going to just place where they are going to be. So what I'm doing now is I'm dividing my my page into the areas that it's going to have. I'm going to put that banister that's next to it. And again, what I can do is I can I can use the same kind of lines that I already have over here, that same angle. And again, at this point, I'm just placing things. I am going to, because when you first look at it, it could be a little confusing, like you've got this wall going this way, but if you do it one step at a time, you should be fine. So I'm going to do this flat wall that is over here. And it ends a little bit before the staircase. And then you can see that we have the angle down here that is going to be perfect for just putting in that little arched doorway. Again, be mindful of the bottoms of things. I'm just going to put in that window. Okay, so now I'm going to move up here. I am going to put in that door or that dark, whatever it is. Looks like it would be a spooky room. I like that. And then I'm going to do the rest of the stairs, which go this way, but we're just seeing the side of them. So they are going up this way. And there's an arch kind of under it. So I did it first straight so I could determine the angle. And then it has a little bit of, you can see a little bit of the other side of it. Okay. And then this arch kind of leads way to the other one. And again, you know, you don't have to put all of these elements. If you just want to do the staircase and this over here and just shade that, that's totally fine. But I'm going to show you how all these things are drawn, and you know, you can edit. So okay. I'm going to do the arches because I really like to draw arches. That's me. And I'm seeing a little bit more, I guess, from this arch over here. And I think this is important here to kind of show that that's, you know, that's a corner. So you've got this wall over here, you've got this wall, the stairs, and I'm just going to very lightly place what's in the back. And there seems to be a side something over here. Okay, so now I have everything in my drawing that I'm going to be using. So the next thing is going to be working the steps. Again, you can use the method that I just showed you, or you can just eyeball it. And we're going to start shaping, and we're going to start shading and doing all of that together. When you shade, make sure that you start with just simple layers everywhere. Don't stick to one area and you know, give it a lot of shading and then move on, because that way, you know, it stays cohesive when you're giving each area equal attention. Of course, there's some areas that have very little in it, and you're going to keep them that way. Just make sure that you continuously go around your drawing. Always make sure that you check everything while you do that. Just because you have your drawing down doesn't mean that you're done with the drawing part and you can move on to the shading. You're continuously working on it, adjusting, checking angles, making sure that everything looks right. So, Justin, can we go to the other camera and see if does anyone have any questions? Can you unmute yourselves?
Yes, Noelle, interesting. I started drawing from the top left down. And
oh, really?
Going the other way. Interesting. I think it's better placement when you do it with the staircase first.
Well, to me, the reason I felt that I would start with the staircase is that I think it's kind of the star of the picture,
Right.
and I didn't even think of starting with anything else. And it's kind of the first thing that you see
Right.
when you're looking at it. Yeah. Hi, Elizabeth. Nice to meet you.
This is
We
what
have someone new today.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? Any other observations or anything?
Well, I did it the same way she did it, and I don't know if you can see anything there because it's still light, but I did it from the other side first, and I've had problems placing everything else. I think that your way of doing it, of course, is so much more logical.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's the great thing about also having Justin that takes a does records all of this, so you can actually go back to this and completely redo it. I mean, I think it's kind of hard to work on the spot, and I'm going at a very fast pace, and even for me, after I'm done with class, I feel like I've ran a marathon because it's all hands-on and going very fast. But I just want to give you as much information as I can in one session. So when when we're done with the session, I would definitely, revisit and see what else you can do, or go to the video, which I think comes out like a couple days after or something like that. Or you can just email me. I can send it to you.
Yeah, and with the, just with the video real quick, we're gonna actually add them to a playlist. So it's not gonna be individual links, it's gonna be one link with all the videos. So that'll be more convenient in the future.
Oh, that's cool.
Right.
That's cool. Justin, is there any way I could put them on my personal YouTube? Or
Sure. I don't yeah, let me just figure out how to do that. But yeah, absolutely.
okay. I was just wondering because I do have a channel, and just to give it, give access to other people.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we are going to start shaping. Again, what I am using a black colored pencil, Prisma pencil, and I like to sharpen both ends so I can keep on drawing. And but you can use pencil, you can use colored pencils. If you're going to use colored pencils, I would definitely use kind of like rustic colors, something with maybe brown, or like a clay color. That would be kind of cool. And so if you are working in pencil, adding colored pencil might not mesh very well. So just keep that in mind. If you do want to add just some color accents, make sure that you're working with a colored pencil and then add that to it. Okay, so we're gonna go back and continue.
What's up? Sorry.
Okay, are we on? Okay. Justin, can you mute everyone? Okay. All right, so I'm going to start with the staircase. I'm going to separate it. Again, I am looking at my two lines over here, and if they would continue forever, so that's kind of where my vanishing point is going to be, up here. So that's what I'm going to do with the lines. I'm going to find the middle of the first staircase. Now I'm going to keep these lines light. They should only be light enough to where you can see them. And I'm going to create the first step. Okay. So I'm going to go from the bottom through the center. And there's the line. Again, you can eyeball this, but honestly, I feel that this technique, and then when you have it like that, it looks really impressive to other people. So you just draw your line, go from the one before, especially when they start getting really tight together. And this kind of shows you that this is must be quite a steep staircase. Okay, so now we have the steps, we have that divided. I am going to shape this post a little bit over here. And again, it's almost like a box. And my lines are going to be parallel, they're going to be straight, but they're not going to be steady. I'm just going to, kind of just let them be a little broken. Okay. Again, you can see some of the brick in here. And when it goes to the side, that line is going to angle. See, I'm just showing you that to show you how things would look in perspective. And again, there is almost some sort of lines here. And again, you can use the method that we just did by going through the center if you want, and then putting them, but it's not as pronounced as it is over here. So just do a little bit of that. Okay. Again, my lines should be going in the right angles, but they don't have to be steady. I'm kind of minding the perspective, but at the same time, I'm just keeping the lines kind of loose. And again, you can see that where the stair meets the banister, it's going to be a little bit darker, so I'm just putting that in. I'm going to shade in. So this is quite a dark area over here.
I can see.
When you have it, and when you have it, make sure that as you shade, try to see where else you can go really dark. There's no one solid area that is that dark, but if this is your darkest area and then you don't have anything else that's dark, that's going to be like too much of an extreme of a focal point. So I'm going to, it has a little bit of dimension. So what I did is I'm going with kind of diagonal lines, and then I'm going to go in the other direction. And I'm not going to go with the maximum darkness because if I need to shape this, change it, I still want to have the flexibility to do that. I'm going to put in this a little bit. And next, I'm going to start doing some shading on the walls. So I am going to just kind of do some vertical lines. And they're going to get a little bit more closer together as they go towards the corner. So with hatching and cross hatching, what is creating darkness and lightness is how close or far apart the lines are. So further apart, you're going to get the illusion of a light area. When they get closer together, the area appears to be darker. So this here is really more like hatching. I'm going to cross it a little bit. So I'm going to put horizontal lines. You can do it either way. And then with the bottom of the arch, you can see that the lines are going kind of in another direction. Almost like a slight diagonal. And then, so what's really cool with using line shading is that it really does help enforce the direction of things. So if something is not that clear, once you put in those lines, it starts making sense that, oh, okay, well, that's the direction that it goes. So before I get too involved over here, I am going to work a little bit on this wall. And also one thing I really like about hatching and cross hatching is that you don't have to do the whole picture. You can kind of pick and choose areas and it will always look finished versus if you're using, you know, like the smooth rounded shading, you almost feel that it needs to be everywhere. But I think with hatching and cross hatching, it looks really cool to have it in certain spots. So okay, I'm going to put in that window. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some dark hatching here. And I'm not going to do all of them. I kind of like that slightly unfinished feel. Going back here. Okay, so now I'm going to work on this wall. And again, you can see that kind of the hatching this artist was doing is kind of like really kind of loose and free, and I really like that. Almost has like a looping effect to it. Okay, so I am going to work a little bit on this arch. And again, like I was telling you about directional lines, the minute I start doing this, see, going all around, it shows that it's an arch. Again, I'm going with closer lines. Okay, there's a little door over here. And when you're doing a drawing and you're using both hatching and cross hatching together, kind of, you know, it's fun to alternate where you use them because that kind of, it just makes it kind of dance visually. It becomes very fun for the viewer to kind of see the transitions. Of course, they don't know that they're seeing that, but it just gives the piece a lot of richness. So I'm going to use cross hatching over here. And see just the different qualities. I mean, they still connect, but there's a little bit of a difference. And then over here, I'm going to do kind of a more loose hatch. And we can do a little bit of tiling work over here. see that the tiles carry over here. Now be mindful that your tiles are also going to follow that perspective. I have a dog that's trying to come in. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so again, just be careful with these tiles over here. And we're doing very little, but make sure that the lines are following that perspective. So from this side, they're going at this angle, this side, they're going to that angle, and then they kind of become more straight along the middle. Okay, so now let's go up over here. Again, this area is treated a little bit lighter, so I'm going to kind of go just softly. Again, that directional line shading. Even over here, I'm going to do kind of really close together lines to give it a little bit of an edge. And then right over here, I'm going to do a little bit of cross hatching. And then I'm going to just hatch. And again, just, you know, just have fun with, you know, both hatching and cross hatching together, and just try to see what works better for one area, or if you have a preference to either just hatching or cross hatching, and how you want to highlight certain things. Okay, gonna work a little bit up here. Okay, so again, this is gonna be and also line shading, you know, helps tidy up a drawing that might have a lot of lines, like mine did to start, so it really does kind of pull everything together. You see, going kind of closer. So again, going in almost a diagonal over here, and then on top here, I'm going to go with some verticals. And again, you know, even if you didn't have a lot of shape or a lot of perspective, just doing those directions alone will really help show the shape. And the edges of a drawing like this, when you're not doing the shading everywhere, you know, you just like trail it off, you know, do something like that. I sometimes will do just some little, you know, or little even dots would be, you know, just depends on the subject. Okay, so let's go to the stairs a little bit, give them a little bit of shape. and shading. Okay, so I'm going to start at the bottom over here. So I'm doing some vertical lines. This one should be a bit bigger. Okay, and then I'm going to do a little bit of cross hatching. And I'm also going to put a little bit of the banister. Again, directional lines will really help. Yeah, when they get close to the wall, they're going to be a little bit darker. I'm going to go up to the top and try to determine what the darkest ones are going to be.
We can't see anything right now.
There we go.
Okay, going to work a little bit on the wall, the banister. I'm just kind of doing some of these pronounced kind of stones. I'm also going to do that in the stairs. I mean, the stairs alone just really need a lot more time. I'm going to put in, see again, the directional shading. And just so that this kind of has a little area up here. Okay. Again, I think this is kind of a fun area to really flip-flop between hatching and cross-hatching. So I'm going to do like hatching on this patch, and then the one next to it, I'm going to do cross-hatching. I mean, it doesn't have to be that methodical, but see, I think it's really giving it kind of a dark and kind of interesting look to it. I'm just pronouncing, just making the kind of the stone just stand out a little bit more. revisit some of this. And, you know, for example, like over here, I'm just not really seeing the detail unless I look, well, actually, even when I look closely, it just looks a little, little vague, like how it's sectioned or anything. So that's actually how I'm going to draw it. So whenever you come across something that is not clear, don't attempt to make it look clear, because then the perspective will totally go off. So I'm just going to just kind of draw in just whatever it is I'm seeing. We're almost out of time. There's a little window over here. There's a little space over here. Again, to do the sides, when you're kind of fading them out, just have your lines trail. You know, you could even do something with, you know, just like a slight swiggle, wiggle, something to it. And I also think because it's old, it, you know, it'd be kind of fun to just do some random, like little notches, just to kind of just give it that feeling. You can see them up here. And I'm making these dark. So these are kind of like my areas that are kind of echoing that dark door up here. So the idea really is that, you know, just have fun with it, especially when you're doing, you know, something that has whimsy to it. You know, just it should look effortless, and it should be fun and playful, and you know, just try different things. You know, invent a new little method to do. Try squiggles, try dots, try, you know, just try different things. We have like 5 minutes left. Again, just using these little squares kind of makes it look like it's kind of pitted. Kind of like these squares. And there it is. It still needs some work. It can use some more detail, but you get the idea of using these techniques together. The perspective, the staircase is probably the one thing that still can use a lot more work. And what I would do next is I would just try to just bring out certain areas a little bit more. I think this got a little neglected over here. I'll just give it a little bit of dimension, but I still want to keep it light as it is in the distance. Okay, let's see if we have any questions. Justin, can we go to the other camera? So, does anyone have any questions? Oh, I'm not seeing everyone today.
Do you want me to cancel the spotlight video?
What?
Should I cancel the spotlight video on you? I'll just do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, now you should be good.
Huh?
Now it's spotlighting you.
Well, if you go to gallery view, like click on the upper right-hand side.
Yeah. I did. It's not. It's showing them, but their picture is not coming up for some reason. I don't know.
You're not seeing any of the participants, or?
Oh, you're not seeing our faces?
Our beautiful faces.
I'm seeing some, like I can see Sharon. Okay, they're slowly trickling in.
Well, do you want to take a look at mine real quick?
Yeah, hold on. I'm just having a hard time seeing anybody. Okay, Sharon. Yes.
I mean, it's not great.
Show
but,
me.
yeah. Okay, let's see. Can you see that?
I can see it.
Okay. Looks
So
good.
it's-
Looks really good. Yes.
Yeah, it's okay. You know, I'm going to redo a whole nother one before and send that
Okay.
to you. So it's just my first one.
For sure.